So, to close out my thoughts this week on why I think that SpaceX is so popular, especially and why we have this SpaceX versus NASA rivalry almost. And I was trying to think of, like, at the core, what is it about the situation? What is it about SpaceX that makes us root for them so hard, even though they push the boundaries and could potentially be unsafe? Like, what makes it? What makes someone like me wanna root for them? Someone who knows the science behind it, who knows how dangerous things can be. And it's funny because it takes me, it's all down to spreading love and spreading science, right? For the podcast, it's our mission statement. We're not trying to spread negativity. We're trying to spread love, and we're trying to spread science. That's why we're moving into now. We've gone into weekly content, and as we get better, we'll be able to put more and more content out there because there, in my opinion, isn't enough of it. So we're working on that. And one of the great things I've enjoyed recently are my new shoes. If you guys haven't seen them on our Instagram page, they say positivity and optimism, and they've been a source of power for me as we have been going weekly and just entering a different stage of the show here with both my relationship with the show, and then we're putting out more content than ever before. It's funny how after looking at the content for a few months, I can already see that I've started to change my game and step up my game. And it was only after watching Gary Vee, Gary Vaynerchuk, for those that don't know, that I finally found the confidence to go every week. There was just something he said that unlocked something in my brain, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Someone was just saying something that I picked up on, and I ran with it. So Gary Vee had a future goal that was achievable. That's like why I understood what he was saying. He was explaining a goal that in my mind was reachable for the future, and now that I'm stepping back, I'm being a little bit more patient. I'm not trying to rush this. I'm really just trying to document what I'm already doing here, what I'm already doing on a daily basis. I'm already head deep into science and space all the time. I need to find a way to better communicate that to everyone in a format that I can do and not have to be a slave to it. So that's what I've been working on lately. I am a believer in what Gary Vee is saying because he's offering positivity and optimism in all of his stuff. And that's how you become a believer in a movement or behind a human path change where the history of the human race is affected by a moment. And a perfect moment that this is an example of is JFK's push to go to the moon. That was filled with positivity and optimism. They set a goal that was at least reasonably possible, although at the time it seemed completely crazy. But they would go to the moon, that they would go to the moon in the next decade. And everyone was focused on that one singular goal to get there. And it wasn't easy. And there was a lot of crazy, unexpected that happened. But they achieved the goal. And because the goal was close enough for them to actually reach, every time they made a step forward, it seemed more and more possible that they could do it. And that's the beauty of positivity and optimism and a goal that is set that's actually achievable. It affects the whole space industry. Although we're seeing it get better because of the private industry's influence, and they're doing really well, and there's momentum behind that. And NASA has been whiplashed almost every 8 years, as far back as the Apollo program, with a new directory and a new plan when the original plan was not really achievable in the right amount of time, in 8 years, basically. I mean, let's be honest. Ever since the shuttle program ended, the communication to the public about what NASA is doing has not been able to get the public interested enough that the politicians are being driven to vote on certain things because of what their constituents care about. It just seems to me like a huge turning point for the Apollo program when they made the move to publicly show a launch live and let people at home get involved in the progress of the technology. Then optimism and positivity spread because more people were on board and interested in what this new, bigger, better future looked like and the things they were doing to get there. The reason all the people really love SpaceX is because they're getting involved in something that is exciting and makes us think of a fantastic future. What SpaceX is doing gets us behind it because the plan is to go to Mars, and we are seeing their development. We're seeing all the individual stuff, and they have a huge public following. They didn't need government backing to get this involved. Well, they need funding to develop the technology, but they're doing all this extra stuff to get people involved, to spread that positivity and optimism. I mean, a lot of what Elon's shtick is a fantastic future. All the things that we want to happen in the future, he's developing the technologies to make those things possible, right? That's what a lot of the allure is. And I don't like harping on NASA about this all the time. And I'm seeing a lot of change from them, actually, within their media broadcasting, and I think it's all for the better. I think this is great. But I think NASA's biggest challenge right now is figuring out a goal that's achievable in a certain amount of time. Now, do I think that the Artemis 2024 mission is too soon of a deadline for NASA to accomplish? Yes. But is that deadline possible if SpaceX or Blue Origin gets it right, if their technology is ready? Because, I mean, if you look at the momentum, both of these companies are primed for this sort of thing, and to get it done in time. You know, we're about to have that 200-meter Starhopper Starship test just weeks after the 20-meter Hopper test. You know, is that spaceship, that Starship, ready to bring people to Mars? No, absolutely not. It's a water tank with rockets attached to it. But I'm seeing them work on it. And I'm getting excited about watching the spacecraft develop and change and become the thing that it actually is, to let physics and aerodynamics of reality shape what the actual thing is going to be like that will enable us to travel interplanetarily, to be able to send 100 human beings at a time. And as a SpaceX fan, I'm confident in what SpaceX can do because I saw them develop the rocket, the reusable rocket that lands. Before them, it was not possible. I was an aerospace engineer. Believe me, I can tell you this. It was not possible. People who were academics teaching this said it wasn't possible. I had at least 2 debates with professors when I was in school getting my aerospace engineering degree. Good debates, not even bad. And you would not believe how much they didn't believe it was possible because they thought it was a physics issue. They thought it was a chemical fuel propellant issue, that they weren't thinking of the business side of things. The reason people love SpaceX is because we don't care how it gets done. We just care that we actually start trying to do things in space, that we're trying to expand in space. And if that means we need an eccentric billionaire who smoked a blunt on Joe Rogan's podcast, guess what? I'm going with that crazy bastard. And the same thing goes for Jeff Bezos, who every day is starting to look more and more like Lex Luthor. So yes, I'm going with them because they're actually progressing space. I am rooting for them because of that. And what NASA needs to do is just set goals that allows them to generate positivity and optimism around their space program. You know, it's really more of a culture game. They're really trying to get people interested while at the same time develop a technology. And I think there was a huge reason to do so during the Apollo program because they were shoving money into that program. 6% of the GDP, it was the number I remember. 6% of the entire GDP of the country was going into the space program. So people had to, taxpayers were saying, well, all right, give me something. So they smartly said, let's film it, and got more people involved. I mean, it would be a huge disservice to humanity if we let this bubble of momentum in space and interest in space die without taking full advantage of it. At least the private sector really is. And NASA is rightfully behind this. They've been funding companies like SpaceX and people like Blue Origin and stuff like that. So they're involved. It's not that they don't know this. It's that the system gets shuffled every 8 years by a new administration, and then they have to start over. So you can't move very fast like that. So that completes my thoughts. I really thank you for joining us this week. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you like it, YouTube. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week for another episode. As always, spread love, spread science. I am Alex Fanos, your science communicator. See you next time.